Hello again, everyone. This is Mike Hayes. I'm the creator of AI Business Networking and our Prosperity Super Campus. I'm super excited today to introduce you to my esteemed guest, Dr. Sandra Harry. She is the dynamic co-CEO, along with Tim Taylor, of The Great Discovery, and she is the widow and learner of Dr. Michael Harry, the renowned creator of one of the great innovations in business of the last 100 years. It's named Six Sigma. Now, this is going to be a fast and exciting free Biz Super Campus course. This is for all of us lifelong learners and teachers. So listen and earn prosperity in your life and business. Join me now, mid-explanation of Six Sigma by Dr. Sandra Harry.
Some people ask, what is Six Sigma? So Six Sigma was a business management system that was co-created by my late husband, Dr. Michael Harry, at Motorola. And I had the fortune to meet him in his later years. He was already in retirement. So he had deployed Six Sigma all over the world for big corporations, saved billions of dollars all over the world. But his dream, after a few events in his career, was to really take the goodness of Six Sigma and spread it to the world. And so when I met him, he was working on The Great Discovery, is what we call it. And that is the fourth generation of Six Sigma. So taking the goodness and the power of Six Sigma that has math and statistics and the rigorous, and it's very, very difficult to learn, and taking it down to an individual person's life and being able to use the cognitive roadmap that was so successful, made Six Sigma so successful. And if we could bring that down to everybody, his dream was maybe we could shift society just a little bit to a little bit of good, right? A little bit more good, which is Sigmas are the goodness of something. So that was his passion when I met him. So I met him while he was developing The Great Discovery. And it was amazing because he was developing and he was bouncing ideas off of me. And I was a former CFO. I came out of corporate America. I worked for a very large corporation. And so my background was finance and operations. I love operations and finance. And when I met him, I was not trained in Six Sigma. I knew of it. I knew what it was. Of course, I'd studied it. And he, of course, introduced me to that. But what was even more powerful is when he introduced me to The Great Discovery. I saw the power of that way of thinking. At the end of the day, Six Sigma is a problem-solving system. That's what his goal was when he was doing his doctorate and writing his thesis. His goal was to create the world's best problem-solving system. And that was the beginnings of Six Sigma. So it was amazing. So I was very privileged, Mike, to be able to sit beside him and help him develop The Great Discovery. It was absolutely amazing. So that was back in 2008 when we met. And it was almost love at first sight. It was amazing. We became very, very close. We married at the end of 2009 and he passed in 2017. So we had a few years together, quite a few. And during that time, he continued to work on developing The Great Discovery, but passed before he was able to launch it to the world. So what he did, Mike, is he asked me to carry on his legacy. He didn't have anyone else that he wanted to entrust his legacy with. So I absolutely said yes. I fell in love with the Six Sigma work. I fell in love with The Great Discovery. And unfortunately, we didn't get The Great Discovery launched while he was still alive. And his biggest wish was to get The Great Discovery launched to the world. So that's why we're launching it to the world now.
Okay, now here's what I would like to do.
Mm-hmm.
You lived with him. You probably heard stories, about his childhood. And what I love about Six Sigma, you can, look at it analytically all you want, but you're looking at what it really is about with The Great Discovery, and that's human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've seen in The Great Discovery and the way the people in The Great Discovery react to each other, have relationships. Tanya Tanika, for me, was a great discovery by herself. She is literally, and I've interviewed Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, hundreds of the most successful leaders in the world. But I have to be honest with you, when I really got to interview Tanya and really got to I wanted to drill down into her leadership style and what really made her so dynamic. And
Mhm.
it was really about her intention, the purification of her intention that allowed her to lead firmly, but with a soft glove. So people loved her for being led that way in the right direction. So, let's talk a little bit about the background story that of him growing up struggling and lacking confidence and going on to just, master something that was just so powerful for all human beings on every level.
Yes, it is quite the story. So Michael grew up in a very small town in Middletown, Indiana, and it's very cold in the winter. Make note of that. So he did not do well in school. He struggled and he loved, he would be honest, he would say, I love to hunt, fish, and trap. So he did miss school, but he just had a really hard time and he struggled in school. So the principal actually called his parents in and said, I don't want to say anything bad or negative, but Michael's struggling. He's not doing that well. We feel that he needs to be vocationally guided. So he was put in shop class where he was taught to be a carpenter. And he was not given any choices. He was just said, here, this is what you're going to do. This is what the rest of your life is going to be. So it was interesting because when Michael did graduate high school, left high school, went to work to be a carpenter, and he said he would drive to work in the morning in the middle of the winter. And in Indiana, it's below freezing, wind chills. I mean, it is very cold. He would drive to work thinking, how did I get here? He wasn't even sure why he became a carpenter. And then he would drive by the office buildings and he would see people in their nice warm offices and in their suits and their ties. And he thought, why am I out here pounding nails at 20 below? And they're in those warm, beautiful offices with suits on. And how do I get there? Right. So he asked himself, how do I get there? Luckily for Michael at the time in Indiana, they had the right to fail law, which meant even if you did not do well in high school and you didn't have the grades to get into the colleges in Ball State, they had to allow you into the general population to take classes. They could not deny you. So Michael went and signed up for classes. And he went to class and he realized that he loved it. He realized that he could go to class, listen to the instructor, do some reading, take the exams, and ace it. He came to find out he had an extremely high IQ. He was brilliant. And so he, of course, excelled in school and he excelled all the way through his doctorate, even a postdoctorate he did, which there are very few of those in the world. He did a postdoctorate. The degrees he has are, I mean, it takes a page to write out the degrees that he has. It's crazy. But it was in his doctorate program where he wrote his thesis on the logic filters, which I mentioned before was actually the beginnings of Six Sigma. So when he was working at Motorola while he was doing his doctorate program, he did an internship at Motorola's Government Electronics Group, GEG, they called it. And they had adopted his logic filters in about 83. And Bill Smith, the other person who coined the term Six Sigma and the other co-creator of Six Sigma with Michael, brought the idea of Six Sigma to Michael in 84, 85 timeframe. So the logic filters, and I think, Mike, you've seen my presentation where we show the logic filters and DMAIC, which is the backbone of Six Sigma, and they just completely mirror each other. It was actually amazing. So that is how he got from being an uneducated boy struggling with education and then ending up to being the co-creator of Six Sigma.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the human things that other people might be struggling with right now. And maybe we can talk a little bit about the power of perseverance and refusal to give up and creating courses in the Great Discovery.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's extremely, extremely relevant these days. I feel, Mike, that in the world today, there's so much information. There's so much that we just all kind of shut down and we just have our phones and we just follow what's going in front of us. And so one of the beautiful things about the Great Discovery is it is a way of thinking. It is the Six Sigma way of thinking. So when Michael started doing his research to bring Six Sigma down to a level for the individual, so we call it the Six Sigma way of thinking. It's basically Six Sigma with all the math and statistics, right? It's the way of thinking. So that way of thinking exponentially increases your odds in everything you do. It gives you a proven path to follow. So when we get people in today's world into the great discovery, we see success rates go up tremendously because they have a way of thinking. Instead of being told what to think, they now can think for themselves. And so it absolutely has a huge impact on people today.
The state that we're in with AI requires that we all have to be both learners and teachers or coaches or counselors. And that if we're not constantly learning, especially in the era of AI, if we're think we're a teacher, but we are not learning about AI and we're not also being a learner at the same time, we're not going to be a very good teacher. So I think we have to have two hats. We have to have the hat of a learner, and then we have to have the hat of the counselor. And we need the confidence to learn. And from a human standpoint, Six Sigma gives you the clarity, gives you the confidence, and gives you the community. So it really is a whole different way of thinking about a community, how it interacts. And that's one of the things I learned from Oxford University. They have what they call the narrative storytelling strategy, and that's what transformed Espoo, Finland, into being the most sustainable city in all of Europe. And Europe has a different sense of community, warmer sense of community. And I think that's what the Great Discovery has, and Six Sigma really brings to the table for people. What did Dr. Harry want moving forward in his vision that you shared with him in bringing the Great Discovery forward?
Mm-hmm. So his vision was to bring the goodness of Six Sigma to the world. I mean, it did so much for the world of business. Gosh, to do that for everybody. So Mike, when you talk about Six Sigma, well, let's take a step back, and I think this will help people understand. In a corporation, Six Sigma touches 2 to 5% of a corporation, of the population of a corporation. 2 to 5%. That's small. So Jack Welch asked Michael, what can we do with my other 95%? I mean, he was, one of the greatest captains of American business of all times. He saw the power that if you could just take a piece of Six Sigma and teach it to everyone else, what could they do? That would be amazing. And that's where Michael started to get the idea, right? So when you think about bringing that to the world, imagine the elevation we can give. We can elevate people. We can help people think clearly now. And back to the AI, it's interesting as we evolve through history and we look back at things and current things happening with AI. What's happening right now with AI, you're right. AI is great. We have to learn how to use it, and we have to learn how to harness it. So we need AI, but we need HI, the human intelligence, to work with it and to really excel with it, right? And this is at the end of the day what's going to happen and what's happening. People who use AI and learn to use AI and harness it and then do what they do, create their superpower, whatever their superpower is. I love to call it the superpower. If it's creating courses, if it's coaching, whatever that is, if they do that and their competition down the street doesn't, who's going to win?
Yeah.
The person using AI. Now, let's go back to the days of Six Sigma when it first rolled out. And it still is true today. If you're not using Six Sigma in your business and somebody else is, you're going to lose. They are going to beat you. They are going to be better. Now, let's stop and think about this for our course creators and everyone. If you're using the Great Discovery, which has 40 years of proven success behind it with Six Sigma, and your competitor's not, what's going to happen? You're going to be out front. So our course creators right now and people coming on the platform in the Great Discovery have a huge advantage by taking the Great Discovery course and harnessing that power on top of everything else that we offer. So it's cycling through again. And anytime there's a big new innovation and you don't learn it and embrace it, you're going to get left behind.
Well, let me explain my point of view and what I am doing to fuse the two. I am putting on speed networking leads events so that people can meet quickly, use their intuition, their human intuition, to decide who, as a human being, because we're better at, our understanding our intuition than a machine. Who do we want to connect with? But then once you've had that connection on with human intelligence and intuition, then you want to have a greeting meeting to get together with that person, but you really need to check in and follow up. And that's what's difficult for people. They fear that. I've literally polled over 1,000 business networkers because I put on big networking events. I polled them, are you following up? And I'll tell you, 1% said they were. And the reason they said they weren't, fear. They thought they talked too much. They thought they didn't know what to say, or they thought they would get rejection. And so they don't follow up. And it broke my heart because they meet people, but then they don't know what to do. They don't know how to move forward. And that's what AI and Six Sigma and the Great Discovery can really bring to the table, is helping them with courses, helping them with AI, helping them tell stories, helping them learn about history, the history of Six Sigma, and all of the changes that we can bring to the table, and really have the data to back things up and the strength and the community to move forward.
And I'm going to add to that. And the Great Discovery gives them a different way to think and move through those problems and those struggles. And we help them bring down those restraining forces and increase their driving forces. And once you learn how to do that and identify what's holding you back, it is amazing what people will do. It is amazing.
Yeah, Six Sigma is proven, it has worked, and now it's developed, like you say, a real new way of thinking in business and in your life. So it's not just about business, it's about every aspect of your life using Six Sigma. And I can't tell you how many people in their personal lives and their relationships I have taught to use the best of their intuition, their creativity, their imagination, artificial intelligence, and all driven by Six Sigma, the way it teaches you to be a more profound human being at a deeper level, and almost a new you. Well, when you work in a whole community of people with the power of Six Sigma and the thinking, I have witnessed it. I have witnessed it. I've dug in. I interviewed Tim Taylor. I'm interviewing you. I've interviewed Tanya, who I just adore. She's just so powerful. But I look at the kind of people that you can become, the kind of people that you can surround yourself with. And that's why I think the Great Discovery, what you are bringing to the table, is profound.
Well, one of the reasons I believe that the Great Discovery is blossoming like it is and growing like it is, and the community that you're talking about, is there at the heart of the Great Discovery. One of the second thing that we teach people is how to get in touch with their intrinsic core values. And our intrinsic core values we're born with. Okay. Now there's a difference between my intrinsic core values and values I wish I had. I want to have because somebody else has them. So the power of it is getting people in touch with their intrinsic core values, their God-given intrinsic core values. We develop our intrinsic core values by the time we're about 8 or 9 years old. Now, they stick with us, but major life events can shift them. When Michael passed, my values shifted just a little bit. It was a major life event for me. But what's beautiful about values and understanding. So Mike, I ask you, what are your intrinsic core values? And you ask me what mine are, and we go, wow, that's great. But if I can help you live out your intrinsic core values every day, and you can help me live out mine, The community that you build by all of us doing that is amazing. It's unstoppable. It brings that human element into it that you just cannot replace, and it's not fake. See, most people go out and say, oh, I want values of integrity and freedom and, this and that, because they hear that other people have them and they sound good. And they try and live those values, but unfortunately, they're not intrinsic to them. And if you're out of alignment, you're doing things that are not in alignment with your core values, your intrinsic core values, life is rougher. It's not as easy. I used to live in a world, I was in corporate America, and I had these big values for myself, and I realized I wasn't happy. When I went through the great discovery and I realized I was so off on my intrinsic, I didn't even understand what my intrinsic core values were. When I uncovered those and I started living those, from that day forward, life has been so much more pleasant and wonderful. And when I can help someone else live out their core values every day, it is amazing.
You know, you mentioned Michael passing. We're all going to die.
Mhm.
And I want to win the big game. The big game for me means winning in life here on the planet Earth, but then winning in the eternal life as well, to succeed without lying, cheating, or stealing,
Mhm.
and feeling good about yourself. Communication is life to me. And I understand it. I study it. I practice it. I love teaching it. And I also love teaching AI media marketing literacy, understanding as a community what are we learning about AI so that we can keep it safe, keep it on the right rails, keep it regulated, get all of the stakeholders in AI to perform with the ethics of Six Sigma and that approach and the community approach. Who better to monitor AI than a big group of professionals that can keep an eye on it and report it, as stakeholders. I call us AI guardian angels. We're the ones that have to watch over it, right? And make sure that we keep it safe and sound. So I think that's the responsibility of each and every one of us. So personally, you have been through a lot. Sandra Harry, tell me about your life moving forward. You have a big, big vision. You are surrounded by a brilliant team, and you are the first you're so humble in the way you communicate with individuals, with everything you've done, and the appreciation that you have spreads throughout the entire organization. And they're respectful of you, of each other, and with all of us. So tell us a little bit about your own evolution.
Well, Mike, what my vision is to see the great discovery succeed. And the biggest thing I want to see is I want to see everyone on the planet go through the great discovery course, because was Michael's dream and that is my passion. I'm doing it not just because he asked me, because when I went through the great discovery, I fell in love with it. This is all I want to do the rest of my life. I want to work on this with him and I want to help him. And to deliver it to the world and get it to the world and see the change it gives people and the happiness that we bring and the elevation in lives, that's my vision. But beyond that, the e-learning platform, we realized that people going through the great discovery needed knowledge. They needed knowledge. And so why not bring it onto the platform for them and have all knowledge, all good knowledge, so that people can go out and learn about what they want to learn about and bring it to places on the planet that don't have that knowledge and don't have that ability. So that's the dream, the goal for me. But as with you, my goal is not monetary. My goal is to have a full heart and to help people and to watch people succeed. My heart is so full these days. I don't think it can get any fuller. It's amazing. And you mentioned Tim. Tim is my husband. We've been married almost a year now. Never thought I would get married again. Never thought I would marry a man that I would be running a company with. So this is all dreams come true, things that I thought about in my younger years that, could that ever be possible? And it's just happening. And it's just happening. And yes, there's been the rough times, but from that are coming the good times. And I just want to live a happy life. I want people to be happy around us. I want to empower people. And the end of the day, one of my biggest goals, I want to put money in people's pockets. I am so saddened by the state of our economy these days and the state of the world economy. And it just saddens my heart that the leadership of our countries around the world will not stand up and do something about it. So if we can do just a smack fraction and start putting money back in people's pockets, that's what I want to do. That's why we give so much back in commissions on the Great Discovery. Could have kept that for ourselves. Could have easily kept it. It's way outside of what any company has ever done. But I told the team, no, I want to pay it out to the world. That was Michael's dream to launch this. And our dream is to put money in people's pockets. So the monetization is a huge, huge piece. So all those things make my heart so full at the end of the day. It's absolutely wonderful.
Well, let me tell you my personal vision, because you brought the platform of the Great Discovery to the world. I'm now standing on the platform of the Great Discovery. So to me, it is about taking that platform. I want to see people not only learn from the courses, I want to see them create courses. I want them to share their wisdom and put their courses onto the Great Discovery. And, to use AI to take all of their experiences, good or bad, and use it to evolve their experience into knowledge and into wisdom, and then to be able to share their wisdom with the world of everything good or bad that they've learned, take the best of it and share it with the world and really elevate everybody with Six Sigma and the Great Discovery. So I'm standing on the shoulder of giants. Unfortunately, Sandra's not that big, but we have the Great Discovery to stand on and to lift us all up with Six Sigma and all the brilliant work that has been done here. So, Sandra, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for sharing, and thanks for building the Great Discovery along with Tim Taylor and all the great people that are surrounding us in the Great Discovery.
It's our pleasure. We absolutely love it. That was really nice.